Chapter 8 The Brothers. "Where are you, Mr. Frog?" Boki shouted into the well. He pulled back on his slingshot and let a stone loose down the well. He looked in again. Hiding, eh? His tattered shirt flapped in the wind. Drew shifted next to Kareen, causing some rocks to scrape the ground. Boki turned to scan the bushes. At one point, he looked straight in their direction. Kareen grabbed Drew's hand and held her breath. Boki went back to looking down the well. In the light, Kareen noticed an intricate pattern beneath the grime on Boki's shirt. A pattern that showed the shirt had once belonged to someone wealthy, maybe, but now was doing the work of keeping a boy's back from the sun. Malik, the younger brother, walked in a circle around the well. As he walked, he kept tucking his unruly curls behind a pair of ears that seemed too big for his small head. Kareen tried not to giggle when he found the rope tied to the trunk of a small tree. Malik waved his brother over. "Yes, it's a rope." "So?" Boki said. Then he rolled his eyes. "Frogs don't climb ropes, brother." Malik put his hands on his hips, jerked his curly head towards the forest, and waited for his brother to understand. Boki shook his head at his little brother and sighed. "You mean it was that girl? I bet she climbed it and got the frog." Malik chuckled a little. "It's not funny, Big Ears. She's spoiling our friend. But at least she left us some rope. We could always use it for something." Malik pulled the rope up as Boki peered into the well to see the end of it. Boki kept his slingshot ready for anything that came out, but he barely noticed the small insect that scrambled up the rope and out of the well. Soon there was another and another. Boki jumped back. "Scorpions!" he cried out. Malik dropped the rope and ran to his brother. There was a scorpion hanging onto Boki's tattered shirt. Malik grabbed a pebble and a slingshot and shot at the scorpion. He just grazed the insect, and it reared its stinger above Boki's arm. He grabbed another stone and shot it off again just as the scorpion's tail was coming down. The insect flew with the pebble and disappeared into a nearby bush. "You saved me, little brother," Boki said as he panted with relief. Malik merely tucked his hair behind his ears and breathed another long sigh in response. The girls tried to smother their laughter as they crawled out of the grass. Kareen walked up to the boys. Halfway there, she caught a scorpion by the tail, immobilizing it so it couldn't use its stinger. "I thought I'd give you something new to play with," she said. Boki turned towards her. His face was red with anger. "That could have killed me." "Not this little one," Kareen said. "It would have hurt you pretty bad, though." She chuckled. "How about you sending me into the forest? Some animal in there could have killed me." "There's nothing in there that can kill you." "Scratch you up, maybe. Anyways, you didn't have to go," Boki said. "I didn't force you." "You knew I would. You didn't have to come to the well to torture the frog." "You knew we would," Boki said. "So we're even then." Kareen tossed the scorpion away. Boki nodded. He spat in his hand and held it out for Kareen to shake. She hesitated for a moment, but did the same, and they pumped hands until Boki noticed the little girl behind her. "Who's that?" "That's Drew," Kareen said. "You're the marketplace thieves," Drew said. "What? Thieves? What have you ever seen us stealing?" Boki asked defiantly. Malik stomped his foot in agreement. Drew suddenly looked uncertain. Again, she fingered the end of her braid. "I've seen you take food at the market," she said quietly. "Clothes, too." Boki smoothed his shirt over his chest. "Oh, yeah? Why haven't we ever seen you?" "She's sneakier than she looks," Kareen said, "and she's usually with her mother." Malik pulled up the tail of Boki's shirt and pretended to hide behind the cloth. Understanding dawned on Boki's face. "Oh, you're that one," he said, smiling. "Do you sleep with your mother, too?" "I have nightmares." "Anyway, I'm not with her now," Drew said. "And she helped me with the scorpions," Kareen said. Drew stuck her chin out boldly. "That's right, I did." "So you traded hanging on to your mother's skirt for hanging on to this one's pants?" Boki frowned and looked over Kareen's market day outfit. "What are you wearing anyway?" "How is that your business?" Kareen fired back. "And what about him?" She jutted her chin towards the smaller boy. "Does he ever talk?" "Of course he talks. That's a stupid question." Well, Drew said, are you being mean because you just got tricked, or is it because you have no people? Buki sucked his teeth. Chups. You mean like a mother and father? What do you need people for? For getting some decent clothes, for one thing, Drew said with a glance at their tattered shirts and pants. Your friend here doesn't look much better in her old man get-up, he said, pointing at Corrine, and what we have is fine for us. If you had a mother, she would never let you go out like that, Drew said. We take care of ourselves, Buki said. I don't have a mother either, Corrine said. She moved slightly towards the boy. Where do you live? Buki pointed towards a muddy group of hills in the distance. Over there mostly, but wherever we find shelter. Malik's eyes narrowed at the look of shock on Drew's face. My brother thinks you're very insulting, Buki said to Drew. Besides, not everyone needs a house. It's better to sleep under the stars. The night air's good for you. It makes you strong. Right on cue, Malik flexed his muscles. What do you do when it rains? Corrine asked. Buki shrugged. Then we have a bath. Well, get ready for a long shower, she said, glancing up at storm clouds rolling in. It's about to pour. We better go home, Drew said. She already held the loose end of her sari over her head, even though the rain had not begun to fall yet. We've got a great spot for waiting out a storm, don't we, brother? Buki said. It's better than either of your houses, I bet. So show us then, Corrine said. If I'm not back in time for supper, Drew began. Poor baby has to be back for milk, eh? Buki teased. I'm not a baby, Drew shouted. Then stop rubbing your fancy meals in our faces and let's go, Buki said. And he started off towards the hills. Drew looked up the road in the direction of her village, and then back at the other three children. She hesitated. You don't have to come if you don't want to, Corrine said softly. No, I'll come with you, she said. Still, it took a couple of seconds for her feet to move. The brothers led Corrine and Drew away from the road, along a path that only the two of them seemed to know. They went behind the market and cut through the yards in a small village, shooing chickens and ducks in their path, and bobbing under wet laundry that was getting wetter as the rain began to fall. After the village, they came to a wooded area. This was not as dense as the old mahogany forest that Corrine knew from the center of the island. These trees were farther apart, with more light between them and more air wafting around their trunks. Just as the rain began to come down in large drops, the brothers stopped at an old tree with branches and leaves so thick that the rain could not get through its canopy. The forest sat against its trunk as the rain soaked everything around them. Do you like living on your own? Corrine asked the boys. Malik intervened two of his fingers. We're not alone, Buki added. We're together. He wrapped his fingers together too. It's just like you and your father. Do you feel like you're on your own? Living with a father is a bit different than living with a brother, Crane said. He isn't just a brother, he's my brother, and that's plenty, Buki said. I have 6 older brothers and sisters, Drew said, and a father and a mother. Crane imagined a house with that many people in it. That must be nice, she said. Buki shook his head. No, that is too many. Crane said, I bet it's never lonely with so much family around all the time. It's never quiet either, Drew said with a laugh. The patter of raindrops slowed and finally stopped. Buki stood. I think I should show you the quietest place on the island. Perfect for when you want to get away from someone. He eyed Malik, and Malik gave him the same look back. How far is it? Drew asked. Follow me, Buki said. When Drew hesitated again, he added, Don't worry, you'll be back with your mommy before you know it. They followed Buki until they heard the gentle rushing of water, which grew louder the further they walked. At a break in the trees, they found a river that cut a meandering path through the island. At a small tributary, they drank deeply, ignoring the tadpoles and small lizards that darted through their fingers. The boys pulled out their slingshots and felled a few bright red pomegranates. They ate the sweet fruit as they went single file, following the trickling offshoot to the main river. There the water was deep and narrow enough that they could swim from one bank to the other, but wide enough that they didn't want to, except for the gentle rustle of leaves that surrounded the river and the rippling sound of the water as it skipped over stones. Everything was silent. They all stopped and waited, drinking in the sound of nearly nothing. Sunlight appeared and pierced through the overhang of leaves to glitter on the surface of the green river. It cast rippling light on the smooth rocks of the riverbed. The air became steamy as the sun began to suck the moisture out of the island, and suddenly the river was an oasis that none of them could resist. Corinne was the last of them to dive in. Before she did, she felt the skin on the back of her neck prickle. It was just like the day before in the mahogany forest. She shivered and looked behind her, but there was no one there. She thought they were alone. She was wrong.